Well-Trained Mind Press presents Rip Van Winkle and Gulliver's Travels, written and read by Jim Weiss. 1. Rip Van Winkle.
Rip Van Winkle made its author very famous very fast. His name was Washington Irving, and he grew up in the little towns and villages along the banks of the Hudson River in upper New York State. He wrote about these places in Rip Van Winkle and in his other most famous story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which some people call the Headless Horseman. The fame of these stories brought him great rewards immediately, but interestingly, he had a whole other career. He became a diplomat for the United States government, actually rising to the post of U.S. ambassador to Spain. But even while he was miles and miles away on the other side of the ocean, Washington Irving always longed for his home, and in the end, that's where he went. He went back to the little villages along the Hudson River, and that's where he lived out his life. So famous was he that the people renamed the little village where he settled Irvingtown, and he could look out from his home to the majestic, rolling Hudson and see the largest steamboat in the area going by, and on its stern were painted in large letters the name that he had immortalized with his character, Rip Van Winkle. But I'll let him explain to you. Through the magic of audio recording and your imagination, may I introduce to you Mr. Washington Irving.
This tale was found among the papers of the late Diedrich Knickerbocker, an old gentleman of New York. Mr. Knickerbocker was interested in the history of the New York area under the Dutch settlers and then as an English colony. His method of research was unusual, since he paid little attention to books on the subject. Instead, he preferred, when traveling, to stop into the homes and farms of the local people and ask them for the stories of those parts. He paid particular attention to stories told by the old wives out in the countryside. It was from one of these that he first had this story, the story of Rip Van Winkle.
The story began back in the late 1760s in a sleepy little village among the Catskill Mountains of New York State. Now, in those days, before highways and automobiles, the Catskill Mountains seemed far away from just about everywhere. Oh, they beckoned to travelers journeying up from the city of New York along the mighty Hudson River. But they were still very far inland. The travelers could just see the heavy woods and the great stone cliffs and valleys. Now at the foot of these majestic peaks, where the haze...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?